we are talking of quality and safety, and this comes from a very confirmatory assessment, background. Uh, Before I talk about, what we do, I would want to just give an introduction about what the organization is and how the organization sort of stands firmly into the global and the local context in terms of certification and, of course, the acceptance of these certificates, which are issued either by the Quality Council or by the approved agency that the Quality Council of India identifies. Now, I would want to, talk right from the structure that we are a part of. So we all understand infrastructure, but there is another term which we call it as quality infrastructure. This quality infrastructure comprises of three essential elements. What is the national standards body, which all of us know is the Bureau of Indian Standards. Then we have traceability as a very important component in our kind of work. For that, we have a term called the NMI, or the National Metrology Institute, which is the National Physical Laboratory, again based in Delhi. And then comes QCI. Now, QCI is the national accreditation body, and I would speak about accreditation in a while. We as QCI are established by the Government of India with joint collaboration with the Indian industry, which is CII, FICCI, and of course SHM. Since we are an accreditation body and we accredit a lot of organizations, including the government, in terms of certification and other initiatives, we have to be completely autonomous, and therefore we don't receive any funds, plan or non-plan funds, and we are financially, what do I say, independent in what we do, and we sort of earn our own living, which also makes us functionally autonomous. Our nodal ministry is the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which is for short called DPIIT, which is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industries. Talking about our organization, we have a chairperson, which is directly nominated by the PM himself. And in fact, in 2014, he was the first nomination that the PM did. And of course, we have a dynamic Secretary General who is the chief executive of this setup. In terms of how we are organized, we have accreditation bodies. As you can see, we have four functional accreditation boards, and we have one quality promotion board. NABCB, NABET, NABH, NABL. We all understand NABL to be the one who gives accreditation to the labs, and the NABCB, the people who do certification of ISOs or maybe other such systems. NABCB is the accreditation board. We have a quality promotion board, which is a cost center, which has the main aim to talk about quality, establish quality. For example, if the PMO wants to establish 9,000 systems in their working, then the NBQP is the one which goes and does that activity. We have a special projects group, which are three. I am the one who heads the project analysis and documentation division. Primarily, our task is to see that we not only frame confirmatory assessment scheme as INDIGAP, which I would speak, but also give them international, acceptance in terms of whenever these certificates is issued by an accredited certification body. Uh, Talking of agriculture, we would have heard enough, but I'm not going to dwell into what others have spoken. I will just stick into the quality concepts. So in terms of quality, as Dave sir also had mentioned, the good agricultural practices is something which might not be a panacea to all the problems in terms of quality, but it is a robust and a very effective means of putting compliance and getting ourselves rid of a lot of these quality issues which we talk often about, which talks about aflatoxins, and other issues. In fact, contaminants in the commodity itself. I this is when I would talk about the benefits. We understand this benefits are just a sec. Are about having sustainable agriculture practice in place, and of course it also results in improved quality and safety. We'll talk about it more. Then we talk about compliance. When we talk about voluntary standards, and I'm coming to that slide, we focus on international regulations. We also are mindful of various requirements of the importing countries, and this is how we develop our frameworks, so that the producer or the grower, either individual or group, complies to all that requirements in a very structured manner and can exhibit and validate his good practices, which is sometimes the portion. Just a sec, please. So, oh, I see. Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, Manish.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's some outages because we are also near the police headquarters, so sometimes these exercises carry on. So I'm sorry for that. Um, so if I'm allowed, should I continue?
Yeah. Go ahead, Manish.
Okay, right. So when we talk about frameworks, we were talking about the international regulations in place, and then of course those things will be discussed in detail in the coming slides. So. Um, what we are also trying to do is, in order for getting or for validating the best practices or the good practices which are being employed by our growers and producers, we would want to get into some kind of a formal certification, which otherwise is not there to sort of assist our farmers, growers, or the companies that represent or trade in agri commodities to show that compliance is met right from the ground level until to the retail chain. So, okay, I'm not going to talk about spices. We have all the, best in class educated audience and panelists who understand that better than me. So it is, just a slide, and I'm not going to dwell into it. On the food safety, of course, Dave Saab has already spoken that it is an assurance that the food is acceptable for human consumption according to its intended use. So this is one definition just to build the context on what I would say. Then we would talk about gap. Gap has been defined by FAO is about the practices that need to be applied on farm to ensure food safety. Of course, we have spoken about food safety, and my previous speaker also has dwelled in detail during pre-production, production, harvest, and post-harvest. That means that all these steps that is required, wherever we have uh, um, a reason, or I say a condition that could contaminate the commodity, we have all those things sort of identified, and sufficient prescriptions are there so that we stop it there and there only, so that it doesn't sort of contaminate and later blow out of proportion, which creates problems for our exporters or for our consumers locally or globally. uh, it also has a component which is important, which talks about protecting the environment and the safety of the workers. So, how we define GAP or good agricultural practices is, um, um, so how we define the good agricultural practices is a systematic approach which aims to applying available knowledge to address environmental, economic, social, and sustainability dimension for on-farm production, post-production process, resulting in safety, quality of food, and non-food agriculture products. So this is how FAO defines it, and it is a comprehensive document, definition which caters to everything which has to do with safety and quality. Uh, okay, now when we talk about food safety and quality, we always talk about responsibility. So we have various stakeholders that have their own responsibility matrix in place. The farmer, and he is supposed to implement good agricultural practices. When you talk about good agricultural practices, it is not only about implementing them, but also having a system of records which he has to periodically maintain and keep. In a country like us, where we have small holdings, we focus on group systems so that the load of managing a system or certification of system doesn't come on an individual. So we have processes which helps the groups to get certified. Of course, then we have the processes. These processes could be primary, secondary, and tertiary. They have this responsibility of production of safe food. They also have to require to have active dialogues with the regulatory bodies, and we had in an earlier discussion heard that that various in this case was the government organization, but there has to be a lot of stakeholders who have to have a ideologue with the regulatory bodies. Then we talk about the processes to upgrade their facilities, to upgrade their design, and to implement it, because we see that things move very quickly in compliance. So there should be sufficient funds or sufficient corpus to be set aside to be with speed with the development of scientific processes and machineries. Handlers, these are very important, as we have just heard in the case of peanuts and others, where the because of the problems of handlers, we see that there is occurrence of a lot of issues in terms of this thing. These handlers are somebody who needs to maintain appropriate conditions at all time, specifically during the movement of the commodity from place A to place B. And now comes the government. We all understand that the government has the most crucial role, not only in terms of establishing guidelines, rules, regulations, and law, but also have to give an enabling environment in terms of scientific, technical, financial, infrastructure, and regulatory direction to the stakeholders. Last comes the consumer. Very importantly, if the consumer is not demanding safe produce, nobody shows the will or the this thing to produce a safe product. And of course, if the consumer is sensitive enough or sensitized enough, he would always follow certain directions, because ultimately he is the final consumer. And if his storage and usage practices are not as per what has been sort of prescribed by the processor or in the pack, he would end up not getting the full value for the money he has paid. Now, okay, I think so. There is a lag in the presentation. Just a second. Okay, so when you talk about good agricultural practices, we talk about two levels. One is the farm level, which starts from the pre-harvest, does talks about the production and harvesting. It also includes transport, because it is the farm gate which actually packages the commodities to be moved out either to the godowns or to the maybe secondary and tertiary processes. So that is where a lot of lot of importance and lot of attention needs to be given. This would reduce the chances of contamination while the farmer has done everything he has to do. But if his transportation has some gaps, the commodity might get infected, and his whole activities that he has done goes down the drain. The pack houses, of course, they are the place where post-harvest handling is done. It has been given in agriculture context, but yes, we all understand that there is a lot of things that happen in the pack houses, and sufficient attention should be paid there also. When you so there is certain things on the focus at farm and focus at pack house. We have just while we were developing the framework, we gave adequate importance to these portions, which is environmental hygiene, hygienic production, handling, storage, and transportation, cleaning, maintenance, and personal hygiene. So this is something that is focused in the development of the framework, which is INDIGAP, which I'll come shortly. And then there are certain focus that needs to be done at the pack house level. And this would be about design, about control of operations. Again, personal hygiene is important. Transportation, product information, because it moves from point A to point B to point C until it lands up at the retail front. So we need to have sufficient information provided in the pack so that the next person takes adequate precautions and not gets into an issue. And of course, training, as Dave sir also mentioned about the example in Gujarat where the polish sheets were given. So this training is something that needs to be always taken care of. And this training is not that one-time training does suffice. We need to have multiple trainings in order to keep the farmers and other stakeholders up to speed about the developments in science and in this thing. Okay, so what are the issues? The issues In the spices industry, I don't have to talk about them, but just for the setting of the context, we know adulteration, we know testing is always an issue. The the harmonization, or we call it as the PT test, sometimes is required because changes of value from different labs sometimes is an issue both for the exporters and for the importing countries. Traceability is essential. Until unless traceability is established, you can't sort of vouch of for the viability of things. And of course, sustainability is important. Governance is there because governance, as I've told you, governance could be in a private the administration of the business, and also in a more global sense, it talks about how things are managed. Of course, food safety is a big issue. We have spoken about it, but it is just to uh, put in front of you the struggle that these spices sector continues to have after so many years. When you talk about the global approaches, and this is what was the topic given, certification is important. Could be to various requirements as by the consumer or by the importing country. We see that we need to do benchmarking of standards because we have lot of standards, and we have a term called audit fatigue. So somewhere as a country and maybe as QCI, we work towards seeing that we through one audit give as many certifications as possible. In fact, it was through the direction and of course through constant pushing by Mr. Dave that we have started the benchmarking process. In fact, if you have seen the HT, there is an advertisement from QCI inviting projects to be a part of this benchmarking process. So we have, and we acknowledge the funding by APIDA and the Spices Board. Again, some of the panelists have been quite sort of supportive of this thing. And then now we are wanting to do a benchmark of our INDGAP standard to global gap, so that to give that kind of a ease of business for the people who take INDGAP are recognized at par with the global gap. Sustainability certifications, I'm going to come to that. We need to have strong food control. Everybody understands that. CSR is somewhere that in group certification, if we have a pharma group which has low on resources, bigger companies can take it as an CSR for having compliant systems, and of course then also helping them to get their certification. Legal requirements, public-private partnership is important because this is where you join up with or team up with people. Like for example, in this case, the Quality Council has teamed up with APIDA and the Spices Board, and of course we will be teaming up with a lot of these at least 15 growers to see that these schemes are there. So so this is how we want to do it. Increased awareness, tackling environmental issues, and there would be certain initiatives by businesses. So we would, these are certain things that we also want to uh, work on and to see that we could get things. Of course, there are issues which I've already spoken. We talked about traceability, hygiene, encouraging use of international standards, requirements on packaging and labeling, food testing facilities, and supply side matters. So these are some approaches which needs to be taken bit by bit, put in place to see that we have a smooth road to achieve quality. Uh, Now I come to the framework which I would suppose to do. We as Quality Council of India are the owners of this particular initiative. And of course, we have a strong backing of the government since the chair of this committee is Dr. S.K. Malhotra, who also is the Agricultural Commissioner to the Government of India. And we have some two other committees, which is the Technical Committee and the Certification Committee. One of the committees, the Technical Committee, is headed by Mr. Dave, and therefore we get a lot of technical inputs to how to drive this framework with the stakeholders. Uh, this is something which the FAO says about many importing countries, domestic buyers, especially organized retailers, are now requiring producers to implement GAP as a prerequisite for procurement to ensure quality and safety. So, giving you an example, I think so. Indonesia has started to demand GAP, and we received a couple of queries from them in terms of what is the level of certification and how India is trying to cope up or certify people so that they can accept the GAP certified commodities coming to their country. So I think so slowly this is going to catch up. Let us wait and see. And we also want to be working. fast so that we have a system on the ground, because we have a system on papers which is the scheme itself, but we want a lot of people to join in. We are asking a lot of agencies including Apida and Spices Board to support us, which they are doing. And once we have this benchmarking things like this, I think so we will go all out for capacity building and having more of these farms under the certification. Now talking about the project, as I've told you that this particular project, as I've also mentioned that as Quality Council of India, whatever we do and whatever we certify for is actually based on an ISO 17065. This is a product certification. What it entails is that if we have done the framework of designing of INDIGAP as per 17065, it under accreditation will be accepted by 180 countries, which comes under an arrangement which we call it as International Accreditation Forum, or IAF. We How we do it is by development of scheme documents, and then we focus on the components of INDIGAP. The previous slides explained, what all things that we put in place, including traceability, workers' health and safety, environment, sustainability, and that is how we develop the scheme. And then we develop a roadmap, as I've just explained to you, which is, first to develop a robust scheme, then do pilots, and then work towards the benchmarking for international acceptability of the same. I have few minutes. I'm going to very quickly. So this is an important slide. This is the INDIGAP scheme. We are the owners. How we made it through stakeholder consultation, where we had the steering committee, technical committee, and the accreditation committee. We had the Department of Commerce, APIDA, Spices Board, and this is a continuing process which takes a lot of inputs from these people. Then we go towards an accreditation process. Accreditation, as I've just explained to you, is something that is about the competence of people who handle it, and it is only the certification bodies that do the certification. QCI ourselves don't go to the field. What these certification body do, that they send competent people, we call them auditors, for seeing that how the farm or the farmer or the group is demonstrating compliance to the standard that we have written. And once they see the compliance, then they either get a basic gap, which is about the very basic type of good agricultural practices. But if they have an enhanced compliance, then they get an INDIGAP. After that, they see that the compliance is maintained, the certificate is given, and this certificate helps to validate, as I've told you, the best practices adopted by the group or the farm or an individual. And of course, this results in some dollar value or export value, or sort of access to markets which otherwise is out. Giving you an example of Indonesia, where they say that if it is not gap, then they are not wanting it to come up to their port. Okay, very quickly, we all understand agriculture, so I'm not going to go into details. The components are soil amendments, planting material, water management, pesticide and their use, worker health and training, harvesting practices and field sanitation, and of course, quite a bit of traceability and record keeping. The reason why documentation is important, because the auditor will go only one day in the 365 days, and he has to sort of stamp the good practices. So for that, he needs some objective evidence, and traceability and record keeping documents help him to make that decision while he's on the field. When you talk about the scope, I've just explained to you, there is a basic gap and end gap. There are general modules. It is based on more of the global gap format, where we have all farm based. Then we have crop based modules, which has fresh fruits and vegetables, combinable crops, tea, green coffee, and spices. And now, spices as a scope is what, as the wizard said, and some other stakeholders had told that, let us have spices also in this. So in the INDIGAP system, we have spices also as a separate subscope. And of course, then we did an agro biodiversity module, because we wanted to have something different from the other GAP schemes which run all around the world. So I'll talk about them. When you talk about INDIGAP, we go and assess the compliance, and then if there are non-compliance, we categorize them as critical, major, minor. And then, the level of compliance, if you see in basic gap and in INDIGAP, the level of compliance is deliberately kept lower, to see that people who are completely out of sync in quality can actually do a basic gap first. And once they understand the quality system, then graduate to INDIGAP, and this INDIGAP is something that we want to benchmark with global gap. Coming to sustainability, we all understand SDGs. There are 17 SDGs. We have done a mapping of our INDIGAP, and that we have found that at least 10 of these fit into the SDGs. Now, this is also very important because now if you see the consumer, they want to see something nice. Initially, they were talking of fair trade and that the farmer gets his due. Then they started with the organic. Then there is a gap, but now they look after, especially the more enlightened customers. They talk about what is their contribution in coming near to the sustainable development goal. So we have done something on that. What we are requiring from the group farmers, not from individuals, because group is a more is a platform which gives more opportunities for sort of showcasing whether they have a biodiversity action plan, whether they have water bodies on farm and how do they restore it, how do they dispose their waste, what is the percent of natural vegetation that they are keeping in their project, is there a diverse cropping systems or they are looking at monocropping, how are they protecting their soil for degradation, and of course also restoring the water bodies as in the culverts or things like that. Seed diversity is important. Pollinators is a must because until and unless your pesticide load is less in the farms, you would not get pollinators. We are talking of also not only farming but also some ancillary ecosystem services that could be coming out of these farms. uh, do they have a drainage system which is proper and there is no seepage or waste of water? And in certain cases where we see that there is wildlife things, and are there some measures that they are taking to protect these species? And of course this huge problem of the burning of straw and things like that is something that has also been considered. Now, this is what is, the INDIGAP system with the sustainability component. We understand that whatever we do as a third party is objectivity, knowledge, validation, accuracy, and lower business impact. We talk of promoting sustainable agriculture, food safety, produce quality, better price realization, and strengthening livelihoods, which is an important aspect of any activity that one does for his or her livelihood. And of course, increased awareness is something that we want to also build through this program. A way forward: trust, formulate effective and efficient strategies, laying down strong adoption strategies in the agricultural landscape, and benchmarking, which I have spoken enough in terms of doing it with Global Gap. And the way forward is, of course, informed policy decisions by companies and countries in terms of uptake of commodity materials, participation in GVCs, recognition of testing procedures and confirmatory assessment standards for smooth exports. And of course, this comes again because benchmarking is something which will push the certification into the higher level. Last two slides. As Quality Council of India and as a division which I head, we have a lot of international connects either through MOUs or being a part of their system. So you see that we have ARSA, which is the African Regional Standards Organization. We have 4 or 5 UN bodies, GIZ, ITC. So we want to put this INDIGAP somewhere connected to all these agencies. And of course, the last slide is that INDIGAP is not the only scheme that we run. We run schemes for the government. We are doing a drone scheme for the DGCA. We are doing some GI work with the DPIIT. We are running schemes on Ayush medicinal plants. We do work for the industry association, as you see. And we, of course, have some international projects, which is on agriculture and, of course, sustainability. Uh, so this is what I wanted to share, quite generic, but these are frameworks. Frameworks are generally generic. We have experts like Dave sir and Dr. Thomas and others in our committee things, various committees, which gives us a lot of strength, technical inputs, and technical prowess to capture markets. This is it. I want to thank the organizers once again and the participants for the patient listening.